Enjoy this one. We got a lot we talked about, and there's a lot of pointers in here that you guys and gals will hopefully find useful. Check these tips out. Get out there and catch yourselves a memory. Well. It's another edition of Catch Your Memory Outdoors right here on the Space Coast. Good morning, East Central Florida. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in to Catch Your Memory Outdoors. I'm Captain Jim Ross, and we're going to do this thing that we call Catch Your Memory Outdoors for the next 2 hours right here live on WWBC 1510 AM. We appreciate all of you listeners out there tuning in to hear what's going on up and down the Space Coast. Got my special guest, my favorite oldest son, Captain Justin Ross, with me today.
How are we doing today?
I'm doing good, buddy. Doing good today. Man, it's been an interesting week for us this week. We have had to jump through some hoops.
I was gonna say it's been a little bit of a struggle, but I mean, like, there's stuff to do.
There's stuff to do, but man, trying to get a boat working.
Get a boat working.
For those of you out there who think that, boats just always work and that, Justin and I never have problems with our boats, trust me, a boat is a boat is a boat, and we have problems with them a lot, unfortunately. Even as much as, we take care of our boats. We basically, you get home, you clean them off, you wash down everything in the boat. Obviously, you scrub it down. We take the hose, we back flush the bait well pumps to get the salt water out of the lines, so that way they're not sitting there until the next trip.
Yep. Spray your brakes off.
Trailer.
When you drop the boat in, you spray the trailer off at the ramp. Yeah.
And yet, we have been plagued with these electrical gremlins, and the boat that I'm running now is about coming up on 4 years old. It's a 2021, but we got it in 2020. So September of this year, that boat will basically be about 4 years old. And it's just amazing the way that salt water can just creep into things and just create havoc. Yeah. Absolutely create havoc in a boat. So we're going to talk a little bit about this morning about what ended up. So we've been having problems for a while. Okay. So I've had it to a couple of different places. We've had some cleanup wiring done here, there, put in some new this is and that's breakers, main breakers, different things that were corroded. But we still were having this problem. And so I wanted a big shout out to the guys over at Boaters Exchange here in Rockledge. They finally figured out what some of the problems were. That we took care of some of the problems each time. Okay, yeah. There was little thises and little that's, but right now, I get to the boat ramp Tuesday, the boat will not start at all, nothing. Now we've had a couple of instances where it would kind of hesitate a little bit, but then you could get it to start.
Yeah, then it would kick over.
Right. So, and then the boat doesn't stay on the ramp long. You back down the ramp, you jump in the boat, you off the trailer, you tie it up, you go put the truck away, come back in reverse. It's a very quick operation.
Yep.
If we're sitting on the incline of the boat ramp for more than 2 minutes, I would be shocked. And we load and unload ourselves. We don't have somebody helping us.
Yep.
We're out of the truck, up into the boat, back the boat off, tie it off, get back in the truck, drive out. 2 minutes. Okay. We had a couple of instances here lately where I'm smelling gas, and I'm like, this is not good. I shouldn't be opening a hatch and smelling gas.
Yep.
Rinse the whole inside of the hull out, run the hose in there, make sure that we didn't spill it or something. I don't know. There's so many things that can happen with a boat. And still, Tuesday morning, I'm smelling gas, and the boat won't start. What the heck? Two totally separate things, but both of them big problems.
Are big problems, yeah.
So I can't run my trip Tuesday. Tell my guys I'm sorry. I got to go get this thing fixed. So in finding out what the problem was, our boats have a fuel management valve, is what they call it. Basically, this fuel management valve sits right on top of the gas tank, and it's a vent, is really what it is. With all of this new EPA regulation, all these new EPA regulations, it makes it very difficult for boat builders, and for a couple of years they were kind of struggling to meet the requirements
Yeah.
of the EPA. I mean, our boats have charcoal canisters and vent this and vent that, and it's so here's what the EPA has done for those of you that are old school like me. When we were growing up as a kid, your gas can, you tried to pour it and it didn't vent very well. Okay. So it would build up pressure and then the air would start to flow back through and it would go glug, 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 as the air was coming through. And then it would pour a little bit and then it would create like a vacuum again. And then air would have to. So what did we do? We drilled holes in the backside of our gas can and put a little pop open and pop shut vent so that you could vent the can. Okay. Worked very well for a long time. And then the EPA gets involved. And now you have these gas cans now that, are basically child-proof, monkey-proof, adult-proof, and don't pour gas very well and spill gas all over the place.
Spill gas everywhere while you're trying to pour them.
While you're trying to pour them.
Yeah.
So, we've over-engineered the mousetrap, if you will, okay, to try and fix a problem that really didn't exist. So, long story short, that's what they've done over the past 5 or 6 years with boats is they don't want fuel spills and they don't want, they want it to be able to vent. So anyway, these boats we have these venting systems to them. Well, this venting valve got corroded and was leaking. So every time I would back down on the boat ramp on the incline, it would load up and start to seep out of the fuel tank on top
into the bilge.
Yep. And so then you have this gas smell all in the boat. Or on days like we've had lately, 2 to 3 foot at 6 to 7 seconds or so, you're going up the wave and down the wave and up the wave and down the wave. Well, once again, you're getting this rocking motion, whether you're sitting at rest or running on plane, you're going over these waves. And it's creating this sloshing effect, which is spilling gas out of this leaking valve. Well, apparently this is a huge problem. So I want to. This is kind of a PSA / this is what happened to us this week. Kind of a talk. If you haven't checked your fuel valve, your fuel management valve, I would highly suggest that you check it. And here's why. The particular Perco brand fuel valve that my boat requires, I called all over the United States trying to find one. I called Perco directly trying to find one. None of the distributors have them in stock. And it's like, okay, why would everybody be out of these? Well, guess what? Because all of those boats that are 4, 5, 6 years old that are all using these fuel management valves, they're all going bad now.
All of them need one.
And everybody's putting one in.
Yep.
Okay? So you can't find, Donovan is a distributor. Land and Sea is a distributor. West Marine has a wholesale division. There's a bunch of different ways to find them out there for a place like Boaters Exchange or your local boat dealership or boat repair shop to be able to get them. They can't get them because there's none out there. And Perco apparently has not caught up with this to figure out that, hey,
we need to make
make more. So I called Perco directly and I'm trying to get this valve. I'm like, dude, I need this valve. I've got trips booked every day this week. I got to get this valve. Well, you can special order one through West Marine. Well, how long will that take? Well, normally about 2 weeks. I'm like, you can't look. Here's a credit card number. I can give it to you right now. Can you ship it to this address? Overnight it to this address. Can I drive to Miami to your headquarters and pick it up
and grab it
today?
Yeah.
Can I drive there today and pick it up? I have to have this. Nope, none of the above. None of the above. Have to special order it. Once the paperwork comes through, then our special order department forwards it, and then blah, blah, blah. I wanted to pull my hair out, right? And I know you guys and gals have gone through something similar to this before. Long story short, I'm calling everywhere in the United States that I can find in any kind of boat parts, any kind of thing online, Amazon, you name it. I'm going through it all, right? Boaters Exchange finally finds one at a dealership in Central Florida. They just so happened to have one in stock. Great. I even called Skeeter directly, and Skeeter says, "Oh yeah, yeah, we've got some. They're $200." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. I'm on your national fishing team. I'm one of your pro staff members. The MSRP in the Donovan Marine book is $112. Why is it $200? Don't know. That's just what they are." Okay. Long story short, Boaters Exchange, Lewis over at Boaters Exchange finds me one for $112. I drive over, pick it up, drive it back. They put it in, get me going. So, long story short, guys and gals, check to see. Go just pull your access hatch, pull your inspection plate. Check to see what kind of fuel management valve you have in the top of your tank. If you have a newer boat, if you have an older one, it's probably you don't have to probably worry about it. It's got a regular vent that vents out the side of the boat. But if you have one of these type of valves, I would highly recommend that you start searching today and get one as soon as you can, because the last thing you need, this is like having a spare tire or a spare hub for your trailer or a spare brake light. It's one of those things. It's not if, it's when it's going to fail.
Yep.
And when it does, you're going to be stuck. So for $115 with tax, $118 with tax, this is something that I would highly recommend that you guys and gals go and purchase if you have one of these in your boat, just so that you're on the safe side and have one for the event that this happens. Second thing that Boaters Exchange did this week for us. So we had swapped out batteries, we'd swapped out charging systems, we'd swapped out some wiring, we'd swapped out jumper cables, we'd swapped out all sorts of things.
Switches, battery switches,
battery switches, everything else. We're chasing this problem in the boat, and all of those were bad. Okay,
yep.
They were problems between there and Tony over at Marine Tech. Tony at Marine Tech did a lot of wiring on both of our boats as well, but we're still having this issue of periodic starting. It was a twofold issue. So the battery cables that go from the two electrodes, two posts in the bilge area of our boats. So we have wires that come from the battery compartment in the console and go back to a power distribution bus bar type thing. It's actually just two posts, single posts in the bilge, so that you can hook all your pumps and things, power pole pumps, bait well pumps, all those sorts of things, hook up back there, so that you're not running wire all the way back up to the console. Just makes for a nice distribution point in the back of the boat. Well, the motor leads that came off of those posts and go to the motor were creating part of the problem. They were crunchy, if you will. Okay, so a cable, a multi-stranded cable, is supposed to be flexible and bend and do all of these sorts of things. Okay, well, Lewis at Boaters Exchange, they pulled them off and they were using them and just flexing them. And he says, "Man, they're crunchy." Well, they're crunchy because of a high stress load, if you will. Okay, they had a little corrosion in them, which after 4 years of saltwater use, 250 days a year, yeah, that's probably going to happen.
It'll happen.
Okay, but what happens is, if you've got something somewhere else in the system that's creating an odd amperage draw, like those breakers, those circuit breakers that we had, those 50 and 60 amp circuit breakers, they were getting corroded. They were creating, hot spots, if you will. Also, so that was one problem. So they swapped those out. They go to fire the boat back up, and it's still inconsistent in its firing. And they're like, "What is going on?" They've checked everything, checked all the connections. Finally, they go back up to the house battery, the cranking battery, and they're messing with it a little bit again. All the connections are clean. They've got dielectric grease on them. Everything looks good, but the technician there noticed that when you tightened everything down, the screw that goes down into the threaded lug, I guess you would call it, that everything sits on, that screw was loose. or the post itself going into the battery moved, it wiggled just a little bit. Well, that's not supposed to happen.
No.
You know, it's not the terminal posts that stick up off the battery. These are the ones that are internal and kind of drop down in, and that have the threaded post sticking out that you put the nut over the top of on a marine type battery. That was a little bit loose, and so because it was wiggling just slightly, it was creating, an issue.
It would have current and then it wouldn't.
And then it wouldn't.
And then
exactly. Yep. It would have current, then it wouldn't, then it would, then it wouldn't. And that was creating another problem. So anyway, I think we finally got all of our electrical issues out of the equation. Fingers crossed. But it's because it's so frustrating to have these little things where sometimes something's working and sometimes it's not. And I know each and every one of you guys and gals out there, if you haven't gone through this, you're probably sitting there shaking your head going, yep, that sounds like something I've had happen on my boat. If you haven't had that happen, just be aware that these things can happen. And so this is what to look for. Look for crunchy wires, look for good, clean terminal connections on all of your power posts, and then check your battery. It load tested fine. They would load test it, and it would load test great. And then Lewis they got three different kinds. They got a regular, just a voltmeter. Then they've got a load tester, like an electronic load tester. Then they've got an old school one, which is kind of like hooking up a toaster. It like heats up this little strip, okay, when you touch the terminals. He says it load tested fine with all three, but just that little sloppiness whenever they went to tighten everything back down, that's what the problem was in the battery. So we swapped out the battery. Boat starts perfect. It's running absolutely fantastic. No gas smell anymore. So anyway, big kudos to those guys. But these are the problems that can happen with a boat. And so just wanted to throw that out there so that you guys and gals can kind of figure out, hey, you know what? If you've got a problem, these are some things that you can check, because I paid for the diagnostics on this at, whatever it is an hour, which is I think they're $199 an hour now for shop labor. But I'm just passing that on to you guys and gals out there. Try and save you some money, give you some shortcuts, places to look and check, and hopefully you can get your boat, if you have these kinds of problems, you can get your boat back up and running again. Anyway, we're going to talk about a whole lot of fishing, because there's some fishing to be done this week, and there was some fishing done this week, but Captain Justin and myself are going to be right back after these messages, so don't go away. Hey, guys and gals, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Memory Outdoors, 7 to 9 a.m. We do this thing live. I'm Captain Jim Ross. Captain Justin Ross is in the studio this morning, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that beach bite and that river bite. And anyway, we want to let you know right now that this segment of the show is brought to you by Lamb Deck. Stop in at Lamb Deck and get some great EVA non-skid decking for your boat, or just even if it's just a helm pad, man, it's definitely worth it. It's softer on the feet and easier on the back, that's for sure. Stop in there and make your boat look better too. They can put any kind of a logo that you want in there. That last boat that we had, we put the Skeeter logo emblem in it. We put some like teak board lines in it, and some other stuff. So did a lot of really cool stuff with it, but it's all laser measured and CNC cut out. So absolutely perfect match for your boat. So stop in at Lamb Deck in Titusville. 321-505-4888 is their call-in line. 321-505-4888, and you can get them right there at Lamb Deck. Speaking of call-in lines, our call-in line is 321-632-1000. That's 632-1000. We'd love to hear from you guys and gals if you've been out this week catching some fish, or if you have any questions, give us a call here. Let us know what's going on, or we can let you know what's going on if you got a specific question. Justin, this beach bite this week, on the days that we were able to get out, getting better and better and better. We're coming off of the full moon. The fish were a little fussy last week. They weren't quite as cooperative as we'd like them to be, but this week, man, Thursday morning I got back out on the water after getting the boat repaired, and the tarpon bite was pretty good.
Was solid, yeah.
Yeah.
Between the tarpon and the snook up and down the beach have been real active too. That's been a lot of fun lately. Just throwing either shrimp or croakers or basically any kind of bait fish you can get. The snook bite's been solid.
Yeah, they're schooled up right now in the inlets. So Sebastian, Canaveral, and Ponce. All three inlets have got good schools of fish in them, and like you say, along the beaches. So I was fishing the around the tip of the Cape, and the mullet are right in the surf. You know, this perfect
Yep.
size, like 7 or 8 to about 9 or 10 inch mullet. They're all pretty much the same size right now. And wow, just the tarpon, the sharks, you know, everything's starting to find them. And so we pulled in. I was dragging some croakers on drift number 1. Got a bluefish bite and got a something else. I don't know, probably a shark or kingfish. I don't know. Took the hook off the line.
Mm-hmm.
Tie another circle hook on. I'm going back around to set back up. I can see the tarpon rolling, so I want to run way around them and get up in front of them and then drift through them again because there's a pretty strong south to north flowing current. And I look over and I'm like, oh, there's mullet in the surf. So I slid up in there, threw the cast net, put about 20 in the well, and went back around and put one croaker and one mullet out. Well, we didn't drift 50 yards. Boom, 110 pounder. Hits the line. Fish jumps, runs, you know, does all the cool things that tarpon do. But fortunately, you know, he's not 150. He's 100, 110. So you're able to put some heat on him. Once he gets, so that's the thing with tarpon, guys and gals. You can't run a heavy drag at first. There's times when you run the drag and times when you don't. And so, you know, Justin and I run our drags pretty light, you know, 3 pounds, maybe 4 pounds of pressure, just enough so that the hook gets into the fish, but not enough that it pulls it back out of the fish. And so this fish jumped, turned, back flips, cartwheels, long runs, all of those things that tarpon do. And once it settles down, then you start to tighten down on the drag. You give it another, you know, you bring your drag pressure from 3 or 4 pounds of pressure up to about 6 or 7 pounds of pressure. Yeah. Because there's still head shakes, there's still jumps, and there's still a couple of more runs over the next 15 minutes. And then once that fish once he just settles in and just locks in place and doesn't, you know, is not running, not jumping, not head shaking, just kind of locks in, that's when it's time to tighten down. And so most of the time, that's right at about the 15, 18-minute mark. And then you can go ahead and start putting some heat on that fish, and then normally get it to the boat within about 10 minutes if you do things right. 15 at the most. We try not to let the fight go more than half an hour if possible. You want to get that fish to the boat, revive it, and let it kick off and get going good. But yeah, just watching those fish just blow those mullet up in the air and jump. This fish jumped out of the water. I see the mullet go one way. He's going the other. The mullet hits. I don't know if it was the same fish or a different fish because there was a group of them there. All of a sudden, boom, here's another strike and halfway out of the water chasing the mullet. And that fish actually got hooked up. But there was a strike, knocked the mullet in the air. There was a jump through the mullet like a king mackerel type skyrocket thing. Mm-hmm. And then the third bite actually was the bite that got the hook up.
Yep.
So unfortunately, you see all this, but it would be really cool to get that on video, to watch that whole, scene play out.
I agree with you, and I feel like that's a thing that tarpon specifically do a lot, especially if they're like daisy chaining or something. You know, when there's 2, 3, 4 of them together, that first fish, well, getting them to eat can be kind of tough. But when that first fish makes a strike, then the second fish is like, oh, well, I don't want him to eat that. I want to eat that.
I got to get it, yeah.
And so then he'll come through and he'll strike it. And then if the bait's still there, the third fish is like, well, I'm not letting either of them get. It's my fish.
Exactly.
And so it's funny, when you get that first strike, I remember I was out with one of our really good repeat clients. And I can't remember his name. He usually comes out with Rick Renfro. Older guy, but
John Denninghoff.
Yeah. He was coming out with us, and we're fishing the river for tarpon, and I see it was super clear. We're in about 4 feet of water, and I see 4 of them heading to us, and there was kind of a glare, so they were getting close. So I just did a real light 10-foot underhanded pitch, And the first fish, I kind of hit him in the head, and he kind of rolled away from it
Right.
because he didn't really like that. The second fish saw him roll and then saw a bait appear and was like, "Oh, that's mine," and came through and crushed it. Because he's like, "Well, I'm not gonna let anyone else have that. I'm
No,
gonna have that."
he missed it, and I'm getting it.
Yep. And I mean, we got to jump 10 feet from the boat. The very first jump of the fight was a big head shake, and then I stuck the fish, handed the rod off, and off we went. But it's funny how the tarpon do that, where it's, you know, you get 3 or 4 good strikes out of them sometimes.
That competitive nature they have.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm gonna eat it. Nope, nope, I'm gonna eat it. So
Mm-hmm.
it is cool, man. But I'll tell you, it's happening right now. So if you guys and gals get a chance to get out there, don't worry about going south out of Canaveral. From basically from the mouth of the port south down to Satellite Beach, the beach is mud. It's just there's no dirt or there's no sand on the beach. It's all dirt that they put on the beach, and the beach is absolute mud. In fact, my customer for Thursday, when we left the tip of the Cape, we got run out because they had Coast Guard ran us out for some kind of special security detail, special hazardous operations thing that they had going on, right? So they come up there and run us out. So we're going south down the beach looking. Well, I got all the way down to Satellite Beach. There's no tarpon. There's no bait. There's nothing but mud because of our wonderful local government and their beach renourishment projects that they keep doing. And my customer says, "Why is the water so nasty down here?" And I said, "Because we do that. That's what we do. As people, we wreck the beach. We don't pump sand from offshore up onto the beach. We truck dirt from the mainland over here and put on where the sand is supposed to be because we're trying to, help the environment." And he's like, he could see through that I was being facetious about it. And he's like, "So don't they have some kind of regulations on the substrate that they're putting down, the particulate size and type?" And I'm like, "You're looking at it. You're looking at the regulations that we're dealing with."
Yep.
And he says, "It's horrible." And I was like, yeah. And not only do the fish not like it, as a beach goer, I wouldn't want to be swimming around in the mud,
Yeah.
You can go to the St. Johns River and the water's cleaner. So anyway, long story short, don't worry about going anywhere from Canaveral all the way down to almost Melbourne Beach and trying to find any bait or any tarpon because they ain't there. By our own doing. Well, we're going to take our next break, gang, and when we come back, we got a whole lot more, so don't go away. Catch Your Memories going to be right back after this message. If you got any pest problems, give them a call, and they'll come over, get you taken care of. That way you don't have to have a bunch of product laying around your house that the dogs, kids, and everything else might get into. And they're going to put the right type of product down for the type of infestation that you might have. Fire ants need one kind of thing. Cockroaches need another. Spiders need another. So just give them a shout and have them come over and take care of your problems. It's real easy to get a hold of them. 1-800-781-7378. That's 1-800-781-7378. They're right here in Melbourne and Rockledge. So they're local to the Space Coast, and they can get you taken care of. Justin, there's a lot of people online this morning. I want to say good morning to those of you that are watching on the Facebook feed. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in. And, that tarpon bite that we've been talking about, Captain Mike Mann has been doing a bunch of tarpon fishing this year. That New Smyrna area has really become a hot spot for tarpon, especially with our beaches being muddy, from the dirt that's on the beach renourishment program. Because, anyway, going back to our customer the other day, he was asking, he says, don't they have specific regulations on the particulate, the type of particulate and the size and the density and the this and that? And I'm like, I'm sure they do. I'm sure all of that was, had to go through EPA or whoever.
Yep.
But does it look like it's being adhered to? No. It's obviously not, because, I never saw mud on the beach until we started these programs. I've been here my whole life. I remember when we used to be able to drive on the beach like they can at New Smyrna. The beach sand was beautiful. It was hard packed. It was white. It was powdery. Now it's dirt and clay and shell fragments.
Yeah, all up and down the beach. It's like from from right at the beach to sometimes 2 or 3 miles offshore. It's just dirt, and you can't see a foot into the water. I mean,
Well, here's the other thing that I see happening from our helping Mother Nature or helping the restoration of the beach with dirt instead of sand is that all the way up the coast, okay, from where the beach renourishment starts, it's muddy there, okay? But think about from the port north all the way to the False Cape. It's not there's no beach renourishment that's gone
no.
on there. That's all just it's eroded away. In some cases, the dune lines aren't dune lines. The sea oats, the little vines and things that grow next to this to the dunes are gone, and the sand has eroded all the way back to the palmetto bushes in some places along between the tip of the Cape and the False Cape to the north of it. But what do you see on a regular basis going on up there? If there's a current, especially a south to north current, the water starts getting muddy. It starts churning up. So the dirt that we're putting on Cocoa Beach is being transported north up to the areas that haven't had beach renourishment, and it's messing the water up there too.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it, a boat runs through it, and there's a mud trail. Like, you're in 10, 12 feet of water. There shouldn't be a mud trail, but there's a muddy trail where your boat has run because there's so many particulates in the water. And I just, I don't understand why we're continuing to do what we're doing. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. The beach is going to go away. The beach is going to come back. If you decide to build on that piece of beach, that's the gamble you took.
Yeah.
That's like playing cards or roulette or whatever. You took that gamble. You put your money and you invested in building on a piece of property that probably shouldn't be built on. And so the taxpayers shouldn't be here to bail you out. And now that the taxpayers are here bailing you out, we're seeing detrimental things happen because we're putting dirt where sand belongs.
I just don't understand why it is that we have to. I mean, it's got to be a money thing, right? It's got to be cheaper to truck dirt in than to pump
Right.
sand.
What's the cheapest method?
Yeah.
Not the most ecologically sound. What's the cheapest way to do it? That's what we do.
Yep.
So unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. But, the fish are trying to cope with it. And so because they're trying to cope with it, we still have some things to catch. Glenn Austin was telling me that basically for almost the whole past year, every time they have a southeast or a south wind and an incoming tide, the incoming tide at Sebastian is dirtier than the outgoing tide. Does that make any sense? No, because it's bringing the mud into the inlet and then inside of the river.
Yeah.
On those incoming tides. So, I don't know. I talked with Mitch Roffer about this, and Mitch was going to try and get in touch with some people that he knew, but, man, I don't understand why we can't just put some, if you don't want the dune to wash away, put some rock in front of it. Rock doesn't move. Sand does. I understand that the sea turtles need to nest. Well, yeah, I understand that. So keep a couple of areas where they can get through, but there's got to be some way, shape, or form that we can do a better job than what we're doing with our beach renourishment. So that's the question: is how do we go about doing it?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about building jetties in the past, and we've
Mhm.
talked about things like that. But I mean, again, is it more expensive to have a crew out there to set up jetties and build jetties and bring rock in and, hand place them? Or is it cheaper to just go dump some more dirt on the beach and spread it out?
Yeah, with a front end loader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know the answer to that. So, Anyway, hopefully you guys and gals, maybe you got some solution for us. You could call in and give us a shout. We would love to hear about that. The other thing that we need to talk about, going back to Mike Mann, talking about the basically the Edgewater, New Smyrna, even all the way up into around the Dunlawton area of the New Smyrna area. It has really turned into a good tarpon fishing scenario this year. And Mike's been doing it for a number of years, but there's a lot of guys now that are jumping on and getting in on this tarpon action.
Yeah.
So it's man, there's just a lot of really, really good fishing around that Ponce Inlet right now, because I think all of the fish that would be out on the beach and down here at Canaveral are displaced, and so they've gone up there. So it's pretty interesting to see what's going on.
Well, we're starting to see tarpon in the river as well, and I'm hoping we start to see a little bit more of a concentration, because it feels like everything's been real spread out in the river.
Yeah.
They're there, and not saying that you can't catch them, but just everything is very, very spread out. And even if you try to like concentrate around the bait, or concentrate around like the bridges that they like to hang on, or the areas they like to hang around in, it still seems like, there's...
Well, the Pineda Causeway is a perfect example. The Pineda Causeway in the Indian River, historically, there's tarpon somewhere within a half mile of that bridge, if they're not on the bridge.
Yeah.
And this year, you'll see 2 or 3 roll south of the bridge, you'll see 2 or 3 roll at the bridge, you'll see 2 or 3 roll north of the bridge.
Yeah.
You won't see that whole mass of fish grouped up in a half square mile area.
Yeah.
You'll see them, it's just scattered up and down the lagoon system. So you're right. The fish are there, but the concentrations aren't
making
there.
it harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've ever tried to fish, if you've ever tried to troll live bait in the river for tarpon, you know that it's hard enough to get past the sail cats. So if you don't have a good concentration of tarpon, some days it's very, very frustrating to do that.
Yep. Sail cats are on point when it comes to getting your bait. They can find them quicker than anything. The other thing is we've had some big jacks running up and down from basically about 520 south all the way down through Melbourne.
Well, yeah, and we've also seen them not like from the railroad bridge south to about 528 as well. They've been in that area.
Have you? I haven't been in that. I haven't been in that stretch lately.
Yeah, actually, I was fishing. I was working my way around the power plant the other day trying to do some shark fishing.
Right.
And there was a school of them that bumped up and kicked off from sort of the middle of the river over towards the east side. And I mean, when they get moving like that, you're not catching them.
Right.
And if you do, they're running. So I just kept doing my thing, but I saw a school of them bump up over there.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, they're there. You just gotta be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's the thing with jacks is once they get on that run, you see that down at Sebastian a lot from Grant all the way down to the inlet. You see that a lot where they're just, it's a blitzkrieg. I mean, they're just racing and chasing and blowing stuff up, and you think, okay, I'm going to run way around and get up in front of them.
And you get like 2 casts.
You get, if that,
yeah.
And they're blowing past you. You see them, here they come, and you make the cast and you start working it, and then you may get a hookup, you may not, but you see them blowing fish up as they're just screaming by it.
Yeah.
15 mile an hour or so. I mean, they're moving.
Yeah.
And they're hitting a bait fish that's safe whenever that's happening.
No.
So that's a really cool thing to have happen. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a caller on the line, so don't go away. We're going to be back with more Catch Your Memory after these messages. We're going to talk a little bit about some Engel cooler stuff. They have got a water bottle now that has a screw-on cap. It's one of these, double insulated tumbler style, but it's in a water bottle that slips into your backpack, or you can throw it into your cooler or whatever you like. Anyway, they not only do they have them just in silver, but you can also get them custom printed with your logo or some kind of a design or whatever you like on them. So it's one of the unique things that Engel does. Allows you to customize some of their products. All you have to do is send them the graphics. and they will send you the completed unit. So check them out at inglecoolers.com and look at the way that you can customize. You can promote your business. You can promote your, just whatever you want to do with it. But really, really cool way to customize and kind of jazz up your water bottle, if you will. We're going to go to the phone lines. We got Mitch Roffer on the phone. Sounds like Mitch is standing next to the highway right now.
Actually, I am. I'm going to just make a turn here and get away from this A1A noise. And, being that I live on the beach in Melbourne Beach, I live firsthand on all the issues regarding beach renourishment and poor fishing. And when I look out, let's say midday when the sun is right, I can see that line of turbid water. It's out at about 30 feet, way beyond that anybody can cast to. So we haven't had any decent fish here for at least a couple of years. And what I've noticed is even if it's not windy, which it's really been relatively calm wind for the last couple of months, the water starts clearing up. But as soon as that sea breeze starts, it kicks up that silt again, or that mud.
Yeah.
And it turns brown, and we lose any positive aspect of it. We don't even have birds anymore really flying in. Yes, we get the beach birds, but it's been very, very distressing and disappointing. The only good thing is that recent Chevron Supreme Court decision, which I didn't like the way it was really pushed out. But anyhow, it may give us an opportunity now to take the county as well as Army Corps of Engineers to court, because it's clear that they're not putting the right stuff on the beach. And the most successful beach renourishment programs, as you mentioned, are taking the sand from offshore where it came from and putting it back on the beach, pumping it on properly, and not this dumping dirt on the beach, as you call it. So I've been starting to work with some marine geologists. I'm a biologist, a fisheries guy, so working with sand and mud is not really my expertise. But, in today's age, you get the right people, you learn a lot fast. You can really understand what the problem is and then direct the right people to get it fixed. I think this is hopefully going to end up as a lawsuit so we can get these guys to reevaluate these techniques that they've been using for years. It's just been ruining the ecosystem on the beach. They're not fixing it. They're ruining it.
It's appalling to me, Mitch, when I run up and down this beach day after day after day, and it used to be just in select spots around Cocoa Beach and a little bit around Melbourne Beach once in a while. Now it's the entire length of the beach. I mean, everywhere they're just dumping dirt, and I mean, it's got to be frustrating for you. I mean, you're living on the beach side, and you purchased that place because you wanted to be able to see the flora and fauna. You wanted to be able to walk out your back door. You wanted to be able to scoop up a couple of sand fleas by hand, not even worry about bringing the sand flea rake. Just grab a handful of dirt, and throw it, or a handful of sand that's got those sand fleas in it. Throw it up on the beach, let it spread out. You pick a couple of them out, put them on a hook, and cast it out. I mean, what better way to spend a day than just walking down the beach fishing like that? And you can't even do that because there's no sand fleas.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
I can drive to Vero, which they don't, which is a 35 to 40-minute drive to get into clearer water where they do have the fish. But I knew my responsibility when I decided to build the house on the beach. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew any strong hurricane, that beach can be gone. And if it was a Cat 4 or 5, I knew the house was going to be gone. But that's my personal choice.
Right.
And I took that responsibility. So I think we have big money trying to protect the beachfronts around the hotels, and they're just taking the inexpensive way out, and it's just not being watched. They say they're measuring it. I'd like to see the data on them measuring the particulate size that they're putting on the beach. Supposedly they sample every truck, but I've never seen a county person sitting there all day taking these kind of measurements. So all this is going to be investigated. It just takes time, Jimmy. It's just, unfortunately, not to happen overnight. But we're working on the problem, and it's clearly, when I first moved up, gosh, it's 20 years ago, the beach, they were renourishing it, but not with the stuff they're putting in there now.
Correct.
And they renourished, and we had plenty of fish. God, we had tarpon within touching distance. you know, hundreds of them.
Yeah,
You know, and it was
yeah.
great to see it. There were days I decided, geez, should I fish or take pictures? That's how wild it was. But now, you know me, I'm calling up and down. My range now searching for tarpon goes from New Smyrna down to almost Palm Beach to find these things. It's crazy.
Yeah. You know, and it's so unfortunate, Mitch, that you've spent, you know, the last, I don't know, 20 years or so that you've lived in that location, paying your taxes, paying your mortgage so that you could live where you want to live because you enjoy the beach and because you enjoy fishing. And now you're having to leave your backyard, get in your car, and drive 30 miles south because the beach that you purchased and live on has no fish. That's got to be so frustrating to you as a homeowner.
You have no idea. You know, starting from 2010 when we had the freeze and the algae blooms, I've seen the IRL go from fantastic to, you know, terrible. There are some signs that it's coming back now due to the right restoration practices. But, and now the beach is gone, so it's scratching my head. So why did I move here?
I'm telling you.
I mean, we love the people. We love the community. That's why we stay. It's just a fantastic community. But on a positive note, they've been catching a lot of snook down Sebastian Inlet. The secret's out. I mean, we heard about it last weekend or the weekend before, and I couldn't go down there. But I went down there with my grandkids this weekend. There were a lot of snook being caught.
Yeah, it is that time of the year. All of the inlets right now are just absolutely loaded with them because they're trying to get together to spawn for their summer spawning aggregations.
So that even there's some Spanish mackerel. I've seen people catch Spanish mackerel, believe it or not, on bobbers. I'd never seen that before in my life. I couldn't even imagine it. It was always jigs, flashing jigs. But to see people catch Spanish mackerel on bobbers, if you want to see it, come down to Sebastian Inlet.
Yeah, it's pretty neat stuff, isn't it?
So, Jimmy, I'm going to stay on the case with this beach nourishment, not just for my personal reasons, but I want to see fishing come back in this county. I want to see us be able to stay here and say, hey, we're here. We don't have to run up to Jacksonville to catch fish now. So
yeah,
I'll stay in touch with you publicly and privately. And when we have something really worthwhile to push up into the legal system, that's when we'll do it.
Well, I know one thing after knowing you all these years. Whenever you put your mind to something, it pretty much gets done. So I'm glad to have you on the detail right now, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm there, so I'll talk to you soon, and everyone, let's keep our hopes going. But any public notice that, you know, talk to Virginia Barker at the county. People should be calling and sending emails, protesting what's going on. Don't sit quietly. The worst thing you can do is sit quietly, because then the politicians think that we're happy with the situation. We're not.
So I would say to everybody, all of our listeners out there, go to Brevard County Department of Natural Resources website and see who you can email from that website. Is that what you would suggest?
Yeah, exactly. Email, call, send letters, do it all.
Gotcha.
Become a pest.
I'll tell you what, a handwritten letter goes a long way these days. Or typed. Yep.
And they have to answer it. They have to file it. It's much more difficult for them to respond to a handwritten letter or typed letter than it is an easy, quick email. They can ignore them, but they can't ignore the letters.
Gotcha.
It's not legally.
That is a great thing to know, Mitch. Well, buddy, I appreciate everything that you're trying to do. Hopefully we can get some resolve here, because it's not fair to the people of this county to shortchange them the way that they're being shortchanged, you know, by putting the wrong type of product back on the beach and ruining a perfectly good ecosystem in the process.
I totally agree. And if they stopped doing it, it wouldn't take long for the beach to clean itself out, and then we'd have the fish back where they're supposed to be.
I'm looking forward to that, Mitch. Well, thank you so much for the call this morning.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Hey, gang, we're going to take our top of the hour break. When we come back, Captain Justin Ross and myself We've got a whole lot more Catch Your Memory, so don't go away. We're going to be right back after these messages. Refill your cup of coffee. Maybe those bacon and eggs are done cooking in the pan while you've been listening to us, and you can sit down at the table and check it out now. But Captain Justin Ross and myself, Jim Ross, are in the studio for a whole nother hour here with Catch Your Memory right here on WWBC 1510 AM. Justin, the beach is the new river. The river has gotten the attention, and the river is getting cleaned up.
Yep.
And there's multifaceted, attacks. They're reducing storm water, reducing fertilizer during certain times of the year, reducing the sewage input and the septic tank input by upgrading infrastructures and things of that nature. So we're seeing a comeback in the river system. We're seeing better water quality, which is leading to better fishing for us. And, we're getting those species back that we didn't have. We've got tailing redfish again in the Mosquito Lagoon in the northern Indian River. We've still got, black drum, but we've got the snook, the redfish, the trout. All of these species that we were kind of struggling to find for a while are starting to come back, and we're finding them more and more frequently now because of better conditions. Hopefully that beach renourishment project can be rectified. That situation can be rectified, and we can get a better solution than what we've previously been doing for that. But I'll tell you, you were talking about the tarpon in the river, and, Orson Tarver gave us a call last week or the week before, and he was talking about the tarpon in the river. And that is one thing that a lot of people don't realize that we actually have here. We've got 100-pound fish.
Yeah.
Right off the end of your dock.
Oh, yeah.
Right off the end of your dock. So there's some really, really good tarpon opportunities for guys that are fishing up and down the Space Coast, especially in the Indian and Banana rivers. If you find greenies and pilchards and glass minnows, you're going to find tarpon.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Now, getting those baits can be a pain in the butt in the river.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is about greenies in the river, but holy cow, you can spend some time throwing a cast net at those things. But when you find them, typically there are tarpon or jacks or something around them.
Yeah. Bull sharks.
Yep.
Bull sharks, catfish.
Lots of
sail cats. One of the things that I do, you see your bait start getting nervous. Man, I've focus in on it real quick. I want to see if I see that little dorsal fin sticking up from that catfish trying to chase it. Because if I see that, I just start reeling to try and get the bait away from them. But they'll chase it all the way to the stern of the boat.
Oh yeah.
So then you can take it and pitch it back out and get it away from them again. But what's interesting is sometimes the catfish will come up if you're using those bigger mullet, those say 10-inch mullet, the catfish will come up and swirl at them once or twice. And that activity will create a bite for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were talking about before, one tarpon swirls and strikes at it or swirls to get away from it. If you like you were mentioning that you pitched too close with your bait, that second one was like, oh, he missed it, I'm getting it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so if there are tarpon in the area, a lot of times the catfish will create a bite for you if you've got a bait that's big enough for them not to get in their mouth. But that's the problem. Some of those cats are 6, 7, 8 pounds.
And they got a big mouth.
And an 8-pound catfish he's got a mouth the size of this Starbright bucket that we've got sitting on the counter here. He can get a big bait in his mouth, unfortunately. The other thing we've had lately, I was talking with Scott McCalla. I have not fished in the flats, in the true quote unquote grass flats, for a couple of weeks now. But apparently we've got some really good grass growing in the north end of the Indian River, and then of course the Mosquito Lagoon. He is seeing a lot of tailing fish, and so he's casting flies and light jigs, lightweight, small, weedless jigs at these fish. And a lot of them are just single fish, or maybe doubles. They're not schools. So he's just holing down the flat real slow and just picking off this fish, picking off that fish, either with fly or light tackle. And that's one of the things in my opinion, that's one of the most enjoyable ways to fish. Is to see the fish's tail breaking the surface of the water as he's tipping down for a crab or whatever, or just slowly swimming along the top of the grass.
Yep.
with his back partially
Cruising.
out of the water, just cruising along. Crawlers, we call them crawlers when they're doing that. And to see that is so cool. A lot of people don't see that, though. And the reason is because you let the fish know you're there.
Yeah.
If you have a boat and you're trying to fish in less than 12 inches of water or 14 inches of water and you don't have a push pole, it's very, very difficult to get close enough to these fish because they are very aware of what's going on around them. So stealth is key. We've gone from pulling up to a flat, throwing chunk bait out in something that looks like a yoo-hoo, to we've gone back to clean water, we've gone back to grass in many places, and the fish don't respond the way that they used to in the dirty water. They're not coming close to you anymore. They can see, they can hear, they can feel, and they're staying far enough away that sometimes you can't even cast to them.
Yeah, and there are days that it's frustrating because they know you're there and you're trying to catch up to them, and they're staying just out of your range.
Yeah, just
like 5 feet past your longest cast. They're staying right there.
Yeah.
And,
Well, you know what? We've got some pretty good catch conditions right now. Let's get the catch conditions talked about. And I was looking at the surface temp at Canaveral right now.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 mile buoy's reading
82.
Pretty cool. I read on Thursday morning around the entrance of the port and just up into the bight, I was reading 89 and 90 degrees.
Wow.
There was some hot pockets in there, which was kind of interesting. So, not sure if it sounds like it's kind of dissipated a little bit.
Yeah, so today we have south winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming southeast by the afternoon. Season side at 20 miles are supposed to be 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period at 8 seconds. Our temperature for the ponds buoy is 83 degrees, and the seas are 2 feet at 8 seconds. At the 4 mile weather buoy out of Port Canaveral, we have a water temp of 82 degrees, seas are 2 at 8. At the 6 mile weather buoy off Fort Pierce, we have a water temp of 79 degrees, seas are 1 foot at 8 seconds. The western edge of the Gulf Stream is 38 nautical miles east of Ponce, 26 east of Canaveral, and 21 east of Sebastian. Our current surf temp at Ponce is 82. Current surf temp at Cocoa Beach is 83, and at Sebastian it's 82.
Yeah, pretty consistent.
Yeah. And then tides at Port Canaveral, we have a high at 1:37 p.m., a low for 7:56 p.m., and a high again at 1:48 a.m. At Sebastian Inlet, the high will be 1:42, the low will be 7:54 p.m., and the high will be 1:51 a.m. And then our Solunar tables presented by All About Archery, our best times to hunt and fish. We have majors at 5:56 p.m. to 7:56 p.m., and a minor at 12:46 p.m. to 1:46 p.m.
Time to be out there this evening, it looks like. Right
yeah,
there.
sort of middle of the day, and then as
right
the sun's
right
going
at
down.
dusk, it looks
Yep.
good. Hey, let's go to the phone lines. We've got a couple of minutes before our break. Captain Mike Mann is on the line. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you today?
Doing good, buddy. How are you tarpon fishing today, or are you chasing the reds and the jacks and the trout?
We're chasing trout right now. We stopped and looked. We saw a few tarpon, stopped and looked at them for a little bit. They just were so scattered, we decided to go play with the trout. I've got Eric brought his dad David for his birthday out for his 60th birthday, so we are trying to get a few bigger trout. We got one short, lost one, and the old El Gato.
Gotta love those catfish, huh?
Yeah, it's just, there's almost no wind, so it's, I know it's going to be a little bit challenging with the moon overhead and no wind, but we're getting a few bites here and there.
Mike, we were just talking before we got you on the line there. We were just talking about how the water has cleaned up in the Mosquito Lagoon and how there's grass and tailing fish starting to show up again, and how if you're trying to fish shallow, you can't do what you did 3 and 4 and 5 years ago and just roll up with the trolling motor, put the power poles down, and throw some chunk bait out or some live bait out. You've got to actually sneak up on these fish now. What is one of the things that you find really, really helps you land fish in shallow water, or even get close enough to cast them in shallow water?
The pole.
Yeah.
Push pole. Being on the push pole. That's going to get them limit, get you in closer to them. And There's been a lot of tailing this week. I haven't turned on much because I've been mostly tarpon fishing. But sorry, I'm trying to handle a fish real quick. I told them if you guys can hook one while we're on air, that's great, and they did.
They did, right on cue.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, staying on the pole. You know, where used to be you can chase them with a trolling motor. Now you need to get on that push pole.
Yeah, stealth is everything whenever you've got the kind of conditions that we have. And like you were saying today, when it's slick calm, it's even more imperative that you don't make a sound. Don't slam any hatches, don't turn any trolling motors on. I even turn my electronics off because they'll hear the transducer clicking, and that'll put them off a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're having to go back. How long has it been since you had to turn the transducer off? It's been a while.
Been a while
Since we had to worry about that.
Yep. Now, Mike,
But
are you seeing any of those? You know how in the midsummertime, a lot of times in the grassy areas, you'll start to get shrimp hatches, and you'll see the birds working. You'll see the bait, the shrimp jumping up out of the water, the fish kind of messing around and pushing the fish up, or pushing the shrimp up out of the grass. Black drum and redfish in particular seem to do that. Are you seeing any of that this summer?
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of that. And I'll tell you something else that's been surprising. Up in the shallow flats, I mean, I'm catching 14 and 15-inch mangrove snapper.
What? Really?
Yeah, I've had two different shallow spots where I'm catching nice big mangrove snapper. I mean, 13 to 15-inch mangrove snapper.
That's crazy. And you're not around a hard structure; it's just out on the grass.
Yep.
Interesting.
I got a fish.
Well, it sounds like you got into a knot of them.
There we go. Yeah, we pulled up to the spot. We got a pretty decent bite going. So
good deal.
It's nice.
Well, we'll let you get back to it. Appreciate the info this morning and the tips on staying on the push pole to stay stealthy. How does somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can give me a call at area code 386-295-5991. You can go right to my website, fatfishguide.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Captain CAPT Mike Mann with 2 N's, and Facebook, Fat Fish Guide Service. Guys, get out there and catch a memory.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you a little later this afternoon.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Take care, Mikey. Hey, gang, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more, so don't go away. Captain Justin Ross and myself, Jim Ross, will be right back with Catch a Memory Outdoors. You've heard it before. I'm going to say it again. Nobody likes to pay for insurance, so make sure you're not getting ripped off. Call Petrucci Insurance, 321-632-1200. They're an independent agent. Let them shop around and find out who's got the best policy at the best price to fit what it is that you need to insure, whether it's your house, your boat, your car. Let them give you a rate quote and make sure that you're not paying too much and that you do have the proper coverage. You're not overinsured or underinsured. That's a real easy thing to be able to do these days. The insurance company will short you any way they can and overcharge you any way they can. So make sure that you're not having either of those done. Call Petrucci Insurance, 321-632-1200, and put a little money back in your pocket. You know what? We're going to go to the phone lines real quick. We got Captain Jeff Kranick on the line calling in from the Keys this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, guys. Morning.
Hey, I want to say a big shout out to one of your proteges that you helped train up. He helped me this past week was Mike Delator. Mike's a longtime law enforcement officer and just an overall great guy. We grew up together, and he really helped me out this week. He got a new trigger for my Glock and a couple of little bling blings here and there. And then also, I did a couple of things with my AR 15 platform, my 223-556 platform, and kind of adjusted it up a little bit. Got a new scope for it, and got that mounted. And then want a big shout out to Jesse Dance. He invited me over to his place. He's got 100 yards range set up, and we were able to sight that thing in and get it relatively close. One thing that I know that I need more practice on that platform. If you shoot a bolt action and then you start shooting an AR platform, uh, it's they don't shoot the same. They just don't. And
Well, between lead and steel for waterfowl, they don't shoot the same either. And guys will, take my recommendation and go shoot 100 rounds on a sporting clay course, but they'll shoot it in lead. And then the duck season comes around and they start having to shoot steel. It shoots totally different.
yeah,
Flies through
yeah.
the air totally different. And then they become frustrated. And I tell these guys, you got to practice with what it's no different than custom made bullets for a rifle for a sheep hunt or big game. Everything shoots different, and they need to practice with what they're using.
Yeah.
And it can be a little expensive, running through 100 rounds of steel at sporting clays course, but it's going to improve the way you shoot.
Yeah.
If that's what you
Yeah.
use.
Well, I'm shooting two different loads, or I was shooting two different loads over there with Jesse the other day. I was shooting a 55 grain FMJ, which is your typical, 223 5.56 round that you would run through that platform. And then I also had some 75 or 77 grain hollow points for, doing some hog hunting. And I was surprised. They do pattern differently, but I was surprised that they weren't as big a difference as what I was anticipating. At 100 yards, the amount of drop, drift, whatever you want to throw in there, wasn't quite as drastic as I was thinking, which I'm really happy about, because the more that I shoot this gun, the better I'm going to get with this gun. But it doesn't really matter what ammunition I want to run through it. It's hitting within an inch and a half, 2 inches of what I'm trying to aim at, no matter which size, projectile that I'm trying to launch downrange. So I was really happy about that you don't have to go to like totally different settings, like on your scope or something, or holdovers or hold unders or that kind of thing. They hit pretty close to one another at 100 yards.
Well, those guns were developed and made at platform for, they say they'll shoot out further, just like any other gun were, but their best, if you want to put it, stopping range is within 100 yards. If you're practicing with more than 100 yards without a totally customized gun, then you're playing that game and wanting to shoot that far, but you just have to be within 100 yards of most AR platforms, and that's what they're designed for.
Well, and most of the hog hunting I'm going to be doing is 70 yards or less. My farthest stand from the kill zone, if you will, is 60 yards maybe. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah,
From
the
north stand on the pine tree?
Yeah, to the feeder.
To the feeders, maybe 60 yards.
Yeah.
So I'm inside of that 100-yard, range no matter what. And my ground blind's, feet.
15.
Yeah, 15 yards or something. So I just need to know where they're going to hit at those ranges. And but at 100 yards, I was pleasantly surprised that you were still relatively close to where you were aiming when you made the proper shot. And I can see on that particular platform, angler error or shooter's error, if you will, has a lot to do with the performance of that particular platform.
Now, did you have it on a bench rest, or were you freehanding?
I just had it on a bean bag, on a platform on a bean bag. So it was relatively stable. At 100 yards, I wouldn't want to try to. With that platform, I don't think I would want to try to freehand shoot at something.
Sure.
At 15 or 20 or even 50, yeah, but at 100, because it's only a 16-inch gun. It's not it's a shorter barrel gun, so it waves around a lot, wiggles around a lot. So staying directly on target, you need some kind of a stabilization whether it's a bog pod,
Sure.
whether it's a whatever it is. You need, at that distance, in my opinion, at least for my shooting capability, I need something better.
Totally understand.
Yeah. Well, what's going on in the Keys this week?
Well, we just had the 2-day mini season, and talking to people up and down the Keys, the lower Keys definitely had a better 2 days than we did up here. Between the weather and the wind. You know, you were either on them or you weren't. I never thought we could have a worse year than last season when we were all down. But
It happened,
this
huh?
season, yeah, it happened. It happened. And it's just not us. A lot of the crews in the neighborhood are saying the same thing. The lobsters just weren't here this year.
Well, we have apparently got a bunch of lobsters up here. I was talking with Jimmy Williams the other day, and he dives out of Canaveral and out of Ponce, and he said he is seeing a bunch of them while he's, spearfishing. But he said, man, a lot of them have their tails curled under with eggs on them. So they haven't dropped their eggs yet.
Which is pretty typical for this time of year up by us. You're having to pick through a lot of lobster. I know one crew up there went out of Sebastian at midnight, and they physically said, "Hey, we know we put our hands on 100 lobster," and they got like 4 eggless out of that.
Wow.
And the water was cold on the bottom. I know we talked about the thermocline that moved in north of the Cape, where it just dropped down to 72, 73 degrees. Well, it's like that on the bottom of some of the deeper reefs.
Yep.
So, but we're getting a good weekend to finish up down here, and we're probably going to slip offshore. Wind's been out of the east, just building up on the reef and then flattening out and then building back up on the shore another 3 miles. So we're going to take advantage of the conditions for the next couple, 2-3 days.
Gotcha.
Then we'll be headed home.
What day? What, you going to be home next week?
We may come home a day or two early. So, yeah, we'll be home Tuesday, Wednesday.
Sounds like a plan. All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate the call this morning. You and Leslie have a fantastic rest of your vacation. And Tyler, if he's down there with you still, and we'll see you when you get back.
Okay, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All righty. Take care. Hey, guys and gals, we're getting ready to take our bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch Your Memory, so don't go away. We're going to be back after these messages. Guys and gals, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Your Memory. We're going to the phone lines again. Captain Justin and I are talking with Lisa Fitzgerald from CCA. Good morning, Lisa.
Well, good morning, Jim. Good morning, Justin. Gosh, great to be on the phone with you guys on this gorgeous morning.
Are you guys over on the East Coast or on the West Coast this morning?
Today I'm
Oh, we lost Lisa.
Dr. Mike Anderson this morning, and we are awarding our scholarships through the CCA Scholarship Mud Hole Tackle Scholarship Program. We award several junior and senior students. They go through a 1-week program and determine who wins the scholarships. We do $3,000, $1,500, and $1,000 scholarships. And then the winner of the $3,000 scholarship goes back to their school and implements a conservation program in their school.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so we have a lot of really cool programs for youth to get them engaged in the sport. And then this morning also, Andrea is in Tampa at the port, and we have a kids fishing clinic there that we are engaged in and getting kids involved so that they have the opportunity to catch fish and win their share of that $100,000 in college scholarships presented by Realtree Fishing in the STAR program. So lots of great things to get kids engaged in the sport of fishing this summer.
You know, Justin, you didn't have this opportunity when you were a kid. The CCA Star Tournament wasn't a thing when you were going to elementary, middle school, high school started after you got out. But man, wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, that would have been great. I mean, all of the opportunities that the CCA provides for, especially younger people, they're all awesome. I mean, even between the scholarships and even just the, the juniors division that they have, all of it is just incredible.
Yeah.
Justin, you could have won a boat by catching one of our tagged redfish. We have 2 youth anglers that won brand new boats with Yamaha motors sitting on Road King trailers. So there's so many great ways to win in the competition, and we also offer community service hours. I don't know if parents know this, but in order for a senior to graduate from high school and receive Bright Future scholarships, they must have 100 hours, a minimum of 100 hours of community service, which is very hard to accumulate, but not when you participate in the STAR competition. Because when you pick up trash, every 5-gallon bucket full of trash that you submit equates to 30 minutes of community service hours. So if you picked up 10 buckets, let's do the math. How many hours would we have?
Yeah, there you go.
We'd have 5 hours.
Yep.
We'd have 5 hours of
good
community
stuff.
service.
That's awesome. Just for a bucket of trash. That's a quick way to ramp up your. Not like you can't find some trash laying around or on the side of the road or the side of the bank.
It does have to be on the coastal waters of Florida, anywhere in the coastal waters of Florida. You do have to submit it through the CCA Florida Star app. You take a picture of it with the official measuring device, which you can pick up at any West Marine store, Melbourne Strike Zone, so many academies, so many of the different bait and tackle shops. Pick up a measuring device, submit it through the app. At the end of the competition, you submit your community service hour logs. Then what I do is I pull up the youth angler's name, and I see how many buckets they've entered, and then I do the math, and I sign off on their community service hours and send it back to the parent.
Oh, that's awesome. That is, CCA is just going over and above to get kids involved and actually give them opportunities. That's a really cool thing. Hey, Lisa, we're up against our next break, but how does somebody get involved with the STAR tournament?
So all you have to do is go to our website, ccaflstar.com. Get yourself registered. It's $40 to get in the competition and $40 to be a member. You must be a member and registered in the competition before you catch an entry to enter it in STAR. Don't be fooled. Don't think you can register after you've caught your fish. You have to register before you catch your fish. And I'll give you a little hint. If you want to pursue tagged redfish, there are 2 places to look. There are 8 fish in Charlotte County and 8 fish in Citrus County, and none of those fish have been caught, harvested. So there are great opportunities there. There are 4 in Brevard County that have not been caught or harvested at this point. So you guys get out there, start looking. You could win one of our great prizes.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for the call, and tell Mike Anderson we said hello this morning.
We'll do it, and thanks so much. We'll see you soon, Jim.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye-bye now. That's pretty cool. That is, yeah, that's neat. Nobody wants to do community service hours,
Well, dude, I mean, even if you don't even have to walk. You can just drive the river and
yeah, exactly.
If in your boat or whatever you're fishing in, and just pick up trash along the way, and you'll have a 5-gallon.
How many plastic bags, bottles,
balloons?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can find enough trash just while you're fishing from spot to spot. Just pick up a, like you said, a bag here or whatever there. And
it's crazy. Hey, we're going to go back to the phone lines. Captain Kyle Weaver's on the line. And, Kyle, you have some big news on a big fish that you were able to bring to the boat this week.
Yeah, we finally got that fish of a lifetime. Story behind that. There's been a lot of big fish here in the Azores so far. Another boat fought one the other day. His wife pitched it, fought it for 15 hours, and just a fish that they couldn't do anything with, and they're very good anglers too, but this is just too strong. And then we decided to go out and catch some tunas for the crew, and lo and behold, the fish of a lifetime showed up, and there was 3 of us on the boat. Mitch Morrell, or Captain Mitch Morrell from Port Canaveral, is with us this year, and he's never caught a blue marlin. He goes to the chair, and lo and behold, it's a fish that's well over the 1,000-pound mark.
And Kyle, I've never seen in person a fish that big, but I know the size of some of the tarpon that I've pulled on over the years. They're only a tenth, or maybe 20% of the weight of that marlin that you just pulled on. And I know sometimes when I get the leader, it's all I can do to get that fish to come to the boat if it's 150, 160, 180 pound tarpon. So what does it feel like pulling on a 1,000+ pound marlin when you finally get it to the leader?
Tied our rope to a dump truck and put it in neutral and try and pull it.
Holy cow.
And it doesn't go anywhere.
And you're pulling all you got, you're giving it all you got, and you can't budge an inch, huh?
No, it's funny. I didn't see the bite, which sucked. Captain John Starks, who I'm with, he's a legend. Everybody in the marlin industry knows him, and he's caught a lot of big fish in his life, too. I've been doing it a long time as well and seen a lot of big fish and have that size fish, but I didn't see the bite. Nick's like, oh, it was big. I'm like, yeah, he hadn't seen enough fish to call it big. And Nick jumps way out there and goes out perspective. I'm like, yeah, 500-600. And then get a little bit closer and it jumps again. And I go, ooh, a little bit bigger. And John goes, you think? And that's what we saw the shoulders on her. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm thinking, 800-900 class fish, And then, we got her relatively quick for that kind of fight, like 40 minutes. And when I finally looked down and seen her, I went, oh, crap. I did not deal with that fish. I didn't want to pull the leader. I was like, oh, here we go. And I just looked at her, and I go, oh, my. So I was on the leader for 15 minutes with her. And you got keyboard warriors, oh, you should have done this, you didn't do this. And it's like, people don't realize when you have a fish, some come in easy, and you can control them. She wanted to stay underneath the bottom of the boat no matter what we did, just digging. I got Mitch out of the chair after 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, come help with your fish. Both of us are pulling on that, and we couldn't even budge her. And then finally she changed her attitude, got a roll out of her, and we rolled her, and she kind of went brown, which is a sign like, okay. And then she lit right back up, and we got the tape measure on her several times. And, Grander starts to run 135. She was well past the tape mark at 150.
Wow.
A good foot past that tape mark. So call it what it is. But
and Kyle, when you get a 1,000-pound marlin behind the boat, okay, first of all, just the sheer size has got to actually kind of freak you out a little bit, little pucker factor, because I think it snatched you overboard at any time it wanted, basically. But
absolutely,
you're talking about a 150+ inch long fish that every inch of girth could be 50 or 70 or maybe even 100 pounds.
Oh, an inch of girth on a fish is all 100 pound on that size fish. And I'm not talking bill length to the tip of the tail. I'm talking short length. So from the bottom of the jaw to the fork of the tail. That's not including the bill. The tail,
Think about
the tail's
that.
probably
That's
7
crazy.
foot.
Put your arms out. Okay, so what's your wingspan? I'm 5'8", you're about 5'9". I mean, look,
Bigger than us.
think about that from your tip of your hand to the tip of my hand. That's from the lower jaw to the fish's fork of his tail.
Yeah.
That's a big piece of fish fillet sandwich, if you know what I'm saying. Holy cow.
She is
Holy
a
cow.
absolute monster. And it's great that we released her. We actually got a tag in her, which, hey, you can tag a fish. You could put a gap in that fish. Trust me, we all wanted to take that fish. But the circumstances and browse, and it was a good decision to release it anyway. So it was just what a fish of a lifetime. It's just, I wish the only downfall is we had better camera systems, but our hands were full. We got good video. It's between one person trying to film, one person driving, and stop. You got to measure it, do this, but we got enough video that everybody's like, "Holy cow! Look at the size of this fish."
Yeah, that's a giant. Now over there in the land of giants, a 600, 700 pound fish doesn't really do much at the dock talk. The dock talk isn't a buzz with an average 700 pound marlin, if you will. But you start getting over that 1,000-pound mark, and that fish sounds like it was maybe 1,100 or 1,200 pounds at that particular size. You start talking about some serious weight. That's got to create a buzz in the entire fishing industry, the entire offshore marlin fishing industry worldwide. When you start talking about fish of that size.
And it is, and a lot of people have already, the people that know us are like, yeah, if they're calling it that, like, they're calling me right away. Like, if John Starks and Kyle Weaver are calling it that, we're not even going to question it,
Yeah.
But then you get the keyboard warriors like, oh, you should have gone up on the side of the boat when I'm wearing the fish. I'm like, I didn't have a say where I could go with that fish. She had me pinned wherever she wanted to. Some fish swim one way, some fish just get, and she tried to stay under the boat the whole time. So now you're trying to lift her straight up on the leader.
Yeah.
600-pound leader, and you're pulling with all your might. You're not winning.
No.
You're not going to win.
Well, it's easy. It's easy for somebody to get on your social media post and try and tell you how you did it wrong, or when they're thousands of miles away and never seen a fish even half that size. So.
Yeah. And, the funny thing is this year there was the first 1,000-pounder caught in the Atlantic was caught in Madeira, and it was a girl got it, and it was her first blue marlin ever. And everybody's like, "Are you kidding me?" Here we got owners. I'm looking at the bad company. I won't tell you how many millions and billions he's spending on mothership programs, a whole 9 yards, chasing that 1,000-pound fish. There's a lot of people spend a lifetime chasing that fish, and here you have an angler/mate whose very first blue marlin is, well, a fish of a lifetime for anybody.
Well, I'll tell you, it's good that you had somebody that was experienced on the rod, because there's a lot of things there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and so having Mitch on the stick was probably a benefit.
Well, he's like, it was a great benefit, but he's like, I've never been in a chair on a 130 class rod with the bucket, so I'm having to okay, do this. Here's how keep your hand on the reel, because if that line breaks, it's going to hit you in the forehead. He goes, oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And then there's several times I'm like, all right, we're going to get a reaction out of this fish. I want you to go up 20 pounds on the drag. And he's like, that's when he goes, I thought I was getting yanked out of the chair. I'm like, yeah, you better hang on. So he's like, oh boy.
Yep.
So
time to put on your big boy pants and make it happen, huh?
Yeah, and the great part about that whole thing was John's comments, like, you think, when I was like, yeah, this thing's big. He had a better view than I did. But Mitch said it was a big fish, and I'm like, okay, he's never seen a 500, 600, 700-pound blue marlin, so that's big. And then after it was all said and done, he goes, I almost didn't want to get in the chair because the day before our friends went 15 hours on that fish, and they tried everything on that fish, 70 pounds of drag, and did nothing. Couldn't do nothing with it. And they got the leader, and they couldn't do anything on the leader. Same with my fish. I'm on the leader. There's nothing you can do on a fish that's. If she doesn't want to give it to you, she's not going to give it to you.
Yeah, you're right. Like you said, hook a rope to a dump truck and try and pull it. That's what it's like.
That's it.
Well, buddy, we're excited for you. That was a heck of a catch, a fish of a lifetime, like you say, and one that you'll be dreaming about for many years to come. We're looking forward to more adventures from Madeira and the Azores and everything else. So hopefully we'll hear back from you in another week or two, and we'll have some more exciting news for the guys here that are back home that like to hear about what you've been doing.
Awesome. And I got pictures all over my Facebook. It's all over the Bill Fish Report and all that. If people want to see videos of that fish and get an understanding of that fish, just, go on my Facebook page, and it's probably lit up with comments and everything.
And it's Kyle Weaver, right? Or Kyle
Weaver.
Kyle A. Weaver.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right, brother.
A. Weaver at Facebook.
Appreciate
All right, guys,
appreciate
enjoy
it.
Can't wait to get home for hunting season.
There you go, buddy. Take care.
Talk to you later.
I know. 1,000+ pound marlin.
Dude, that's a big fish.
Man.
And when I didn't realize that was the short measurement. That wasn't even the full length.
Oh, you put the bill and the tip of the tail. I mean, the sickle on that thing alone is going to add 2 feet to the length.
Yeah.
You know, just the way that the tail sweeps back. So.
And I mean, the nose is going to be another 2.
So he had
2.5,
150-inch tape, and it was too short.
which was too short for the short length. Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow, man. I'm telling you, that's a giant. Well, guys and gals, we got to take our last break of the day. When we come back, we got a whole lot more, so don't go away. Hey, guys and gals, welcome back. Appreciate you tuning in every Saturday. We didn't do the Starbright Cleaning Solutions segment, but I was thinking to myself, you know, it's time for some deck cleaner. Time for some hull cleaner. I've got stuff that's ground into the deck lately that I have not been able to get out, so it's time to get the heavy duty cleaning, because just the wash and wax won't quite lift it anymore. And
It's not just a Cheeto you stepped on and ground.
no, it's like grime.
Yeah.
It's like road grime.
Either stuff, stuff you
tar.
kick off
I don't know
off
what
the
it is,
road
off the
or
tarmac.
Yeah.
It just grinds in, and you just can't get it to clean. So it's time. We're gonna get out some of the hull cleaner and do that. So the other thing is this segment of the show is brought to you by Strike Zone down in Melbourne. We appreciate Strike Zone sponsoring this segment of the show. If you guys and gals need anything, stop down at Strike Zone and check it out. Hey, so here's a couple of things I was thinking about. I want to say, you know what? I didn't say thank you to Carrie and Blair Wiggins. They allowed me to stay with them during the ICAST over in Orlando, and had a good time with those two over there. Ray Ayala mentioned something on our Facebook feed that kind of makes sense. I didn't really think about this before, but you know, we were talking about the beach renourishment. We're talking about, you know, different things like that, and he's, you know, and how it just makes no sense. But it once again, it's all about the money. It's about who's getting the money and how they're spending the money. He says, you know, just like on the St. Johns River, they're spraying the river to kill the grass. Okay, but they kill everything in the process.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And then you have somebody that'll come around and go, oh, well, we need to start a grass replanting project. Well, you got one company or one agency that's killing it. So now there's a need to replant something. So now you got another one that's looking for government funding to get that program started. So he's right. It's all about the money.
Yeah.
The beach has been here for years and years and years and years and eons. Okay? It's not going anywhere really. But we keep putting dirt back on it or sand back on it when it's going to replenish itself. It's what it does. There's a little ebb, you know, and it strips it away, and then it builds it back in. And it strips it back out, and then it builds it back in. And unfortunately, we're not over engineering, but we're trying to compensate for something that we probably shouldn't be trying to compensate for. Just let it go. It'll come back. But we're messing it up in the process. So, you know, that kind of makes sense. Also, Sean Scribner's in Steenhatchee this morning. Hopefully he's getting some scallops there. Mark Pryor is calling in from Michigan. And Tino, I'm going to be actually going down to see Tino down at All About Archery here right after the show. Get my bow checked out, make sure it's all in tune. And I'm looking forward to getting that thing out and start shooting it. So what have you got coming up this week? We got fishing to do. Mm-hmm. Boat maintenance to do. Got a little bit of boat maintenance.
Always
got some new fenders for the trailer. And fender supports. I'm really excited about the new fender supports.
I'm actually the next thing. We've got a couple small things coming up, but the next thing that I'm looking forward to is we're taking a couple scalloping trips. I'm ready to go do some of that. I've been looking forward to that for most of this year, and so I've got a couple groups that I'm going to take over there, and we're going to go do that.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Go get some lunch, dinner, have a good day, chill out.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yep. That's always fun. That's always a fun time. Yeah, and it's that time of year because they're starting to show up. Hopefully we'll get some reports. Actually, my friend Steve Mundine is over there right now. So I'll call him a little later today and see how they're doing.
How they did, yeah.
And of course, Gary over at Ozello Keys Marina is always on top of where the scallops are. So he's a good point source to go to as well.
Good contact to have. Right?
I'll be over there next week. Most likely, I'll be over there next week. It looks like, and looking forward to getting in the water myself. Well, we've got a ton of good fishing coming up. Tarpon in the rivers, tarpon on the beaches, snook bite on fire, redfish tailing in the lagoon. I'm excited about the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Get out early, get back early.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because holy cow, has it been hot. On those days where there's no wind, you don't want to be out there. I mean, it's like, all right, let's crank up the boat and go get some AC because it's ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
I'm dripping.
Exactly. Dripping. When the air conditioner's still running at 4:30 in the morning and it still hasn't cut off at the house, it's hot. It's hot. You open the back door and it looks like it feels like somebody hit you with a wet paper towel or something right in the face. Just blam, all the humidity.
You can't see out your French doors either because they're all
they're
condensated up.
Yep. It's that time of year, so I'm looking forward to doing some scalloping. Hopefully, you guys will get a chance to get over there a bunch of times too. Well, guys.